And joining me now to discuss the advantages of this summit and more is a global affairs analyst, Nweke. Good to have you join us, Nweke. Do you think that this NATO summit we're seeing now in Brussels underscores the point or the statement that President Biden made when he said America is back?
Absolutely. The essence of the U.S. Participation in this summit, which, by the way, was actually built to be attended by Biden himself. At least that was the statement that was put out earlier in the year. As a matter of fact, just immediately after Biden won the election in November 2020, was that he was going to attend. That underscores the importance that the United States attaches to NATO, but also this specific, summit. Now, as things turn out, the United States is being represented by the Secretary of State, Blinken. Why is this important to the United States? Number one, and I think the most important thing, is the fact that Trump presidency was actually used, for attempts to dismantle the alliance. A number of very bad statements, and also focusing attention on the areas that are rather irrelevant. Now, with Biden coming to power and realizing the relevance and the importance of NATO, not only to the United States, but to for global peace, is now making efforts to rebuild because it plays into his slogan of America is back.
Some of the key issues to be discussed at this summit will include issues on cybersecurity, Iran, terrorism, energy security, Russia, China. We might not see concrete decisions taken today until a summit to be held in June in the United States, if the coronavirus permits. But when you look at some of the decisions that we might see, what long-term impact do you think that would have on global security, especially in Africa?
First and foremost, I believe that this summit will achieve the most important thing of psychological boost for for the alliance and for the allied countries. That's number one. Number two, I think it will send a very strong message to adversaries, and that includes Russia, but also other terrorism-prone countries in the Middle East. There are also, establishing, antennas in a number of African countries, including Nigeria, with ISIS and other terrorist groups actually taking root and causing all sorts of menace. Now, because NATO has actually very clearly included, counter-terrorism, cyber attacks and all of that to its mandate, and will be trying to iron out ways and means of actually adapting its, pact, its constitution, so to speak. I think it sends a strong message to, detractors and also, rogue countries that NATO means business, and they will make their, their efforts at terrorism much more difficult.
And you mentioned earlier that the Trump administration sort of had a tense relation with NATO based on a lot of demands. So how easy would it be for President Biden of, the U.S. under President Biden to take his place of influence, looking at 4 years of tension?
Well, I believe that the tension created by Donald Trump had actually concentrated on the most irrelevant part of the raison d'etre. That is the the reason that NATO existed in the first place, and that is the 2% of GDP of the allied countries contributing to the budget of NATO. Now, why that is important and indeed was considered as an aspirational goal, it was never something obligatory or mandatory. Now, previous leaders, United States and other the Secretary Generals of NATO have always used, persuasive arguments to try to get, defaulting countries to, live up to expectation. Now, I don't think they need that anymore. But because if you look at what happened in Yugoslavia and the role that NATO played in it, it actually sends a strong message to the allied countries that they need to actually do more, and indeed they are beginning to do more. So Biden's job is made easier. If you look at what he did at climate change in terms of bringing America back to that, you will see that he has a welcoming message, and the allied partners are welcoming him into the fold with open hands. And I believe that there are difficult, decisions to be taken, but I think that the ground is set for those, conversations and dialogue to take place.
Global Affairs Analyst Collins Nweke, thanks for talking to us as always.
Always my pleasure. Thank you.